Before I left that world, nighttime was never treated as ordinary. That is the first thing I need you to understand. Most people think of night as the time when the body slows down, the house gets quiet, and the mind finally has a chance to rest. But when I was deep in witchcraft, night was seen very differently. It was seen as a window, a vulnerable hour, a time when people were more emotionally exposed, less guarded, and more likely to ignore what was happening around them because they were too tired to resist it. And that is why I need to speak plainly to you today. Some of you are ending your day in ways that leave doors open without even realizing it. I am not saying this to create fear. I am saying it because I lived on the side that watched for openings. I know how darkness works when it looks for access. It does not always come with something dramatic. It often comes through patterns, compromises, atmospheres, and repeated agreements that people think are small. That is how many homes lose peace. Not through one obvious event, but through little doors left open night after night, until unrest starts feeling normal. There were things we looked for: unforgiveness before sleep, fear entertained in the dark, homes full of tension, minds saturated with confusion, lust, anger, or torment right before bed. We understood something many believers still ignore: the condition of a person's spirit before sleep matters. The atmosphere you go to bed in matters. The thoughts you agree with in the final minutes of the day matter. If you sleep with your guard down spiritually, you should not be surprised when you wake up heavy, agitated, drained, or clouded. That is why this message is urgent. Because some of you keep praying for peace in your home, but every night you are leaving access points open. And until those doors are closed, your rest will keep being challenged. So I want to walk you through 5 doors that must be shut before you sleep. Not tomorrow, not when it gets worse. Before you lay your head down tonight, the first door is unforgiveness. I have to start here because it is one of the most common openings, and many people excuse it because they feel justified. They say, "You do not know what they did to me." And maybe I do not. Maybe the wound was deep. Maybe the betrayal was real. Maybe what happened was painful and unfair. But I need you to hear this clearly. Unresolved bitterness does not stay contained. It changes the atmosphere around you. It gives darkness something to work with. When I was in that life, bitterness was never seen as a small emotional issue. It was seen as fuel. It kept people internally agitated. It weakened peace. It made minds easier to torment. A bitter person may think they are simply holding on to the memory of what happened, but spiritually, they are often carrying an active agreement with pain. And when you go to bed with that agreement still alive, your rest becomes vulnerable. I am not telling you that forgiveness means pretending nothing happened. It does not mean calling evil good. It means you refuse to let the wound keep governing your inner world. It means before sleep, you release your right to carry the poison. You put the person into God's hands, and you refuse to rehearse the injury all night long. Some of you are more exhausted from what you replay in your mind than from what actually happened. Close that door tonight. Pray honestly. Tell God where it hurts. Then release what you have been gripping. Peace does not grow well in a heart that insists on sleeping beside resentment. The second door is what you allow into your mind before sleep. This one is dangerous because it feels normal in this generation. People spend their last waking moments consuming chaos, lust, fear, anger, gossip, horror, and noise, and then wonder why their sleep feels troubled and their spirit feels crowded. You cannot fill your inner world with darkness and expect your night to remain unaffected. Back then, we understood repetition. We knew that what enters the mind repeatedly begins to shape the atmosphere. A person does not need to perform a ritual to become spiritually dull. Sometimes all they need is constant exposure to things that contaminate their peace. Night after night, image after image, sound after sound, thought after thought, and eventually their discernment weakens. Their rest becomes vulnerable. Their inner life becomes noisy. This is why what you watch, scroll through, and meditate on before sleep matters. Your final inputs are not neutral. They linger. They echo. They follow you into the night. And once your mind is overstimulated or defiled, it becomes much harder to settle into peace. You need to become more disciplined here, not legalistic, disciplined. Ask yourself what kind of atmosphere you are creating in your soul before bed. Are you preparing your spirit for rest, or are you handing your mind over to confusion? Shut that door. Turn off what feeds darkness. Stop carrying digital noise into sacred hours. Replace it with truth, prayer, and stillness. Your mind is not a hallway for every voice to pass through. The third door is going to sleep uncovered. I say this carefully because many people assume that because they believe in God, they do not need to be intentional. But faith is not passivity. Trust in God does not remove the need for prayer. Before I left witchcraft, one of the clearest patterns I saw was that spiritually passive people were easier targets. Not because God had abandoned them, but because they were not active in guarding what had been entrusted to them. Some of you lock your doors, check your windows, and secure your home physically every night. But spiritually, you just collapse into bed without one word of prayer. You cover your money. You cover your passwords. You cover your property. But you do not cover your mind, your sleep, your children, or your atmosphere. That should not be normal for a believer. Night prayer matters. It is not about performance. It is about alignment and authority. Before sleep, speak peace over your room. Cover your mind. Renounce fear. Surrender the day to God. Place your household under His protection. Invite His presence into the atmosphere. These are not empty gestures. They establish spiritual order before rest. Some of you do not need a new breakthrough first. You need a new habit. Stop ending your nights casually. The final moments before sleep should not belong to worry, entertainment, or emotional collapse. They should belong to consecration. Close the door of passivity and become intentional about spiritual covering. The fourth door is sleeping in agreement with fear. This one is subtle because fear often disguises itself as concern, responsibility, or realism. People say, "I am just thinking things through." But many times what they are really doing is carrying anxiety into the night and then lying down beside it like it belongs there. In those former circles, fear was incredibly useful because it weakens clarity and magnifies vulnerability. A fearful mind is easy to exhaust. It spirals quickly. It imagines worst case outcomes. It turns uncertainty into torment. And if that fear is not confronted before sleep, it becomes the atmosphere of the night. Some of you need to understand this. Not every thought deserves a bed in your mind. Not every worry deserves agreement. When fear starts speaking at night, you do not have to entertain the whole conversation. You can interrupt it. You can submit it to God. You can replace it with truth. You can refuse to let anxious thoughts become your nighttime companion. That does not mean pretending you have no problems. It means refusing to crown fear as your authority. Before sleep, release what you cannot control. Speak against torment. Ask God for peace over your thoughts. Breathe. Slow down. Let your soul come back under order. Fear loves the night because it counts on your exhaustion. But peace grows when you deliberately hand your burdens to God instead of carrying them into sleep. The fifth door is ignoring the atmosphere of your home. This is where many people miss it. They focus only on themselves, but atmosphere matters. Homes carry what is repeated in them. If there has been constant strife, constant yelling, constant impurity, constant negativity, or constant spiritual neglect, that environment does not simply disappear when the lights go off. It lingers. It settles. It shapes the quality of rest inside those walls. I saw this too many times. Some homes felt heavy the moment you walked in, not because of decoration or wealth or size, but because of what had been allowed to reign there. The words spoken there, the habits practiced there, the tensions left unresolved there. People would go to sleep in that atmosphere every night and then wonder why rest never felt clean. You need to take authority over your home, not with fear, with clarity. Pray through your rooms, worship in your house. Remove what does not belong. Stop normalizing atmospheres that steal peace. A home should not be surrendered to emotional chaos and then expected to produce spiritual rest. Tonight, before you sleep, do not just prepare your body for bed. Prepare your atmosphere for peace. So here is the warning I need to leave with you. Do not wait until your peace is fully gone before you become serious about the doors you have left open. Close unforgiveness. Close dark mental input. Close spiritual passivity. Close agreement with fear. Close the unchecked atmosphere in your home. These things may look small to the casual eye, but in the spirit they matter more than many people realize. I know what it looks like when darkness looks for access. I also know what happens when a believer becomes intentional. The same night that could have been filled with unrest can become a night of peace. The same room that felt heavy can become a place of prayer. The same mind that felt crowded can come under the calm authority of God. So do not go to bed the same way tonight. Slow down, pray, release, cover your home, guard your mind, shut every door you have left open, because rest is not just physical, it is spiritual too. And some of you will sleep differently the moment you stop treating nighttime like a neutral space and start treating it like something that must be guarded.